I'm super excited about my next guest on the FayWhat show, okay? So Robert Kesten, I met him a couple of years ago, and I was enamored by the dude, right? He's got this exceptional history. And then he started working for the Stonewall Museum, Archives, and Library, which I think is the opposite way. It's library and archives, right?
No.
Right? No, I did it right? Did I say it right? Okay. Well, and so now he is in bed with me today, and I can't wait to get this interview started. So, Robert Kesten has worked globally promoting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and furthering democracy, okay? So, this work has taken many, many forms, including writing, producing an award-winning documentary on learning about the Holocaust at the concentration camps in Poland, working on the Ghanaian, is it how you say that, right? Constitution, coordinating and producing events leading to Ukrainian independence, producing events for the first AIDS Day treatment center in the nation, pushing for the decriminalization of homosexuality in Ukraine, the first Soviet republic to do so. Kesten is now the ED at Stonewall National Museum and Archives, and they've got an incredible events coming up at the end of this month that we will talk about in a little bit. So, welcome to the FayWhat show from the Stonewall Museum, Archives, and Library, Robert Kesten. See, that's the background noise. That's the audience that plays in my head. I was just telling Robert.
Well, they're right there.
And they're all right there, right? Do you see the people there?
I
Because
do.
if you see the people there, then we're in really trouble. Then we're in bigger trouble than I thought. Robert, welcome to my bed, babe. How you feeling?
Thank you. I'm honored to finally make it here.
Oh, I'm so glad that you said yes, honey. I'm so glad that you said yes. How was Pride for you?
Pride was work. So a lot of running up and down, trying to get people to be aware of what's coming up at the end of the month and to see if their organizations would support it. Because although that event itself, which is the reenactment of the Stonewall Uprising, the first ever in history, we're also making sure that the spirit of Stonewall is alive. So it has also become a protest against the governor's recent budget, which hurts our organizations dramatically.
That's crazy.
And-
like organizations lost 6 digits, 9 digits. They lost a lot of money because of that.
Including us. And it's important to stand up and remember what Stonewall was all about.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't just a party, it was a protest.
It was a protest.
It was the beginning of a liberation movement, and we are not liberated until it's all over. And we're not anywhere near there, as we've learned over these last few years with the legislation and everything that's happened. So we are using this as a lever to show our elected officials, our appointed officials here in Florida and across the country that we will not be silent, because we learned back in the AIDS era that silence equals death. And none of us are ready for that.
Yeah.
To be
true.
the end result for our community.
At all. And you know, Robert is such an interesting individual. And like I said before, he's had such an interesting life, right? So I really wanted to get him in bed because he stands for so many different things that I'm always screaming about to you folks, right? And some of you people think I'm crazy, right? Well, crazy knows crazy, right? And you know, aside from so much that Robert does, he's, like I said, he's had such an interesting life. So I wanted this interview to be primarily about you. Right? I know. But again, you've had an interesting life, my friend. So we're going to talk about some things that you've done. And I want you to clear up some stuff for me also, okay? Because like when we've worked together on Queer News Tonight, I've had to say your intro a million times. And it sounds so, you know, amazing, respectful, huge, right? But the reality is that I don't know half that shit, right? I don't know half the stuff that you've done. So I thought this would be such a great opportunity to like dive into that. Is that cool with you?
Whatever you want to do is fine with me.
All right. Yeah. Take off your clothes. No, I'm joking. All right. So, Robert.
Then nobody will watch.
Listen, you don't know that, okay? You don't know that. All right. So, Robert, you spent the last 20 years working on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights globally, okay? That was one of the first things that I said when we started this interview. What does that mean?
What it means is that I was sitting in my office, which was also my apartment, and a client of mine, someone who I was working on an international agricultural project with, said, you have to meet my wife. And that was in the early 80s. And his wife came, and she was one tough cookie. And she marched up and down the office, and she said, I've always wanted to do and want to do something with human rights, and I just don't know what. And my husband said, you're the person to tell me what to do. And so I thought, and I said, well, the UN recently completed the UN Decade on Women. And it was very successful and culminated with a lot of things. And many things are scheduled to happen because of that. Why don't we do a United Nations Decade on Human Rights Education? And if that decade happens and passes and you haven't done anything, then it's time to retire. Mm-hmm. And if it does happen, then you have really changed the world.
Wow.
And she started to travel around, and in 1994, the United Nations General Assembly voted on that and passed it unanimously. And the world was supposed to develop plans and programs for the next 10 years to enhance the education of human rights and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And so from then on, that was really a focus of what I was doing, because it really narrowed it down, or at least gave a pathway to understanding of that what we all do, if we care about humanity, is we're ultimately trying to live a human rights existence.
Yeah.
And so that's where it came from.
Okay, and this included Ukraine, obviously.
Ukraine was actually just before that happened, but it was already when my mind had moved to that all these things that we're talking about, all those things that we're doing, really ultimately filtered back to that. So with Ukraine, I was sitting in a different office. So maybe it was later. Yeah, it was probably later. And the phone rang. And this person said, be on a plane to Paris, and then you will get off. You will go to the Soviet consulate. You will give them your passport. They will give you a visa. You will then get on Aeroflot flight, whatever it was, and you will be met at the airport in Kyiv. And so I said I would do it. And my mother said,
you didn't even think twice.
I didn't really think twice, no.
You didn't even think at all. You just said, yes, I'm going to do it. And your mom's like, are you nuts?
Exactly. My mother said, you don't know these people. I said, I don't even know if they're people, let alone know these people. My father said, how could you not do it? It just sounds like something out of James Bond. So I got on the plane. I flew to Paris. I went to the consulate. The consulate would not take my passport at first, but I had a secret phone number to call, and I called the number, and the person said, go back to the consulate. They'll take your passport now.
Oh my God, it is like James Bond.
So I don't know who I spoke to, but I went back to the consulate. I knocked on the back door. The hand came out and they said, we'll take it now. And they took it, and within a half an hour, I had my visa.
Shut the hell up.
And this person wouldn't open the door, wouldn't let me in, wouldn't show their face.
Just let it back out,
Yeah.
let the visa out like that. Robert Kesten, man of mystery, 007.
And then I got on the Aeroflot flight and flew to Kiev. And when I got there, it was like an airport that was from the Second World War. It was like a Quonset hut kind of thing.
And what year was this again? I'm sorry, Robert?
1990, 1991.
Okay.
And so the plane was surrounded by military with German Shepherds and machine guns. Mm-hmm. And then a cart got pulled out, and they took the luggage and put this on the old wooden cart. And then they picked up the two things and walked it into the terminal. But we had to walk through machine guns and German Shepherds.
And German Shepherds, yeah.
And so we got inside, and then they make you do reverse customs. So they go through all your stuff. It's x-rayed and everything, and they can open it and whatnot. And
you didn't have any funny stuff in there, did you, Robert?
No,
no. Okay.
I don't play basketball. And there was someone holding a sign with my name on it. And so I got my stuff. I went into this car. And then we drove, and it was raining, and it was cold, and the roads were so full of potholes. I started to say, well, maybe
I made a mistake here.
Maybe. And we pulled up to this building, and they pointed. And so I took my stuff, and I went in the building, and it was late by now, and there was a guard. And in Soviet era, the Soviet Union, it was like every sixth light fixture had a light bulb in it. So it was dark and dingy, and there was a guard behind this counter, and he points to this red leather door. So I go to the red leather door, and I open it, and there's another red leather door right behind it. And
Did you have to give like a secret word or something?
No,
Like,
I learned that they had those kinds of doors to keep the heat in.
okay.
So the double glass panes
Yeah,
for
yeah.
windows. And I walked in, and it was a nice, very big office. And there was someone who was sitting in a very comfortable chair with a light over their shoulder reading. And they looked up and they said, "So how do we separate from the Soviet Union?" And I
Wow.
looked behind me.
After all of that, this is the first question that
That
you're
was the-
being
yes.
brought to you, and you're supposed to answer it with the correct answer right now.
Right. So
Or death. I mean,
So I turned around and looked to see if someone came in behind me, because I didn't know that that was necessarily the reason that I was being brought there. And then the person who was sitting there said, "Oh, excuse me, I'm so rude. My name is Sergei Komisarenko, and I'm the Deputy Prime Minister of Ukraine."
shut the hell up. Oh my God.
And that's how my trip started.
Holy crap. Well, and I know that, your trip sort of ended with the decriminalization of homosexuality.
It
in
almost
Ukraine.
started with that.
Oh, but it took some time. But it took some time to get to there. Okay, now fast forward, here we are in 2024. Ukraine is in a war. Do you still have ties to Ukraine? Do you still have some kind of connections there?
I'm still in touch with the former Deputy Prime Minister, and I'm aware that Ukraine, even in the face of war, has liberalized their laws pertaining to the LGBTQ community, not toughening them, not moving with the way Eastern Europe is moving at all, but liberalizing them and making people live more freely and more comfortably.
How interesting is that? I mean, okay, I get it. You're in war, right? You have a lot of things at the top of your list to look out for, right? Like not being blown up, right? But being LGBTQ is up there on that list because it is who you are, So to be able to know that liberty, I use that loosely, you know what I mean? It's still there to some degree.
Not to some degree. I mean, there's more now than there was
in the
before the
90s.
war.
Wow.
And part of the reasoning is, one, they see themselves as related to the West, and two, they understand that the humanity of their people is vitally important. If they don't respect their own people, then how will anyone respect them? And so they liberalized those laws in order to make other Ukrainians recognize the fact that Ukraine loves them.
Yeah. Do you think that war will end anytime soon?
Not anytime soon.
No, really?
But
you really feel that way?
It depends on the support that Ukraine gets from the Western democracies. And it depends on what kinds of weapon systems the Russians decide to use.
Yeah.
So if Russia uses tactical or other kinds of nuclear weapons or dirty bombs, then everything is in play. But if it continues the way it is and the West comes through with the meetings that they've just had in Europe, and people really do come out and support Ukraine the way it needs it, then the war will go on and they'll fight for their true freedom from the yoke that Russia is trying to put them under. And we can only hope that democracy will prevail, because if democracy does not prevail, then human rights are gone, not only there, but everywhere.
It's true. It really is. Now we're going to jump to a completely other side of the world on topic, okay? You worked in Hollywood.
Yes.
Okay. As an actor in 5 movies.
Yes.
You say that very like nothing. I mean, I haven't been in 1 movie, And 5...
Your life is a movie.
So people say. Yeah. Okay. So 5 feature films, all right? Do you ever watch those movies today?
No.
Like at all? Like, do they ever would they have come across my Hulu or my YouTube or my streaming services?
they're old movies now, so I don't know. The first film I was in was called Hot Stuff, which starred Dom DeLuise and Suzanne Plachette. And when cable television first started, that was on cable television
All the time.
all the time. I don't know if I ever saw it. I do know that my cousin called me and said, "Why didn't you tell me you were in a movie?"
Wait, you didn't tell your family that you were?
No. And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "I was at the movie theater, and all of a sudden there's this big close-up of you, and I screamed, 'That's my cousin,' in the movie theater."
Oh.
So that was fun.
That's okay. So were 5 movies. Did you want to be an actor long term at that time, or was that
Yes.
something that? Okay, so you were committed. to that.
I was as committed as I could be to anything, yes. And I also had a nightclub act at that time at a place called Ye Little Club in Beverly Hills.
Did you sing?
I did. I wrote my own songs and I sang my own music.
Have you been trained to sing, or do you just have a talent?
I don't think that I have that much of a talent. Maybe it's in the Bob Dylan's talent. But I'd done a couple of musicals and whatnot. So I could at that point still hold a tune.
Okay, so today, no.
It's a muscle. It's how you use those muscles.
Okay.
And if you don't use them, like all muscles, they become like this. And so therefore, I don't know. I mean, I've often wished...
great voice speaking, so I can see, I could feel it. I can, suddenly see more, sing something to me. I don't know.
So I wrote a couple of things that I really liked and have always wanted to use them, but I used them in my own club routine and did that for a couple of years. And then I was hired to work for a quasi-political organization based in Washington, so I moved back east.
What a shift. Okay, so with your acting world, were actors assholes?
Some, but not all.
Were you an asshole as an actor? Like, were you a diva? Like,
No, a diva, no.
I need only 4 waters. You brought me 5.
No, I was always thankful for even having the opportunity to be on a set. I mean, I thought that was...
I love that.
Or to get on the lots.
Like in Burbank and all of that?
Yep, exactly. I mean, I remember being on the lot at Columbia Pictures, and someone came up to me and said, "Oh, we like your work so much." And I knew that they weren't talking to me. But I was so intimidated, I didn't ask who they thought I was. And that afternoon, I went to Beverly Hills and I went to Bagel Nosh. And they gave me my bagel for free, saying, "Oh, you must have had such a busy day on the set." And I'm saying, God, who am I? I never found out, but I got a lot of free things. So I appreciated that too.
Oh, well, no, of course. And so, okay, and then that's another leap then, though, Robert. So you're in this field and you're saying, okay, I'm going to commit to this, right? I've got 5 films. I'm singing in this Beverly Hills club. It's my own act, blah, blah, blah. And then this political aspect comes a calling.
Well, the political was always there.
Okay.
The political was always there.
But it tugged at you as, okay, move over here and get more involved. That's when you went back to New York.
Yes.
And was that when you ran for Senate?
Oh, no, that was way, way before. I didn't run for the Senate until the 2000s. So that's relatively recent. 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah, because I mean, COVID, we don't even, I didn't even count my birthdays for like 2 years on purpose.
Well, it was before it was before COVID.
Yeah, 2016, right? 2017.
I ran.
Something like that. I think you should incorporate singing into something that you do as an ED for
I did.
For Stonewall.
I did.
think our next big gala or something you need to
I did
sing.
For our 50th anniversary. I opened the gala with a singing of Willkommen from Cabaret.
Oh, okay.
So I did do that.
I got to find that somewhere. So Robert's been the ED of Stonewall Museum for a year and a half?
June 1st started my 3rd year.
Holy crap.
So I've been there for 2
full years, and we're going on our 3rd year now. Wow. So, okay, let me tell you the mission statement of Stonewall. So Stonewall National Museum Archives and Library is a safe, welcoming place that inspires and promotes understanding through collecting, preserving, and sharing the proud culture of LGBTQIA+ people of all stories and their significant roles in American society. Does that encompass everything that you work for presently?
Probably not everything, but it really is the great umbrella statement.
Yeah. You need a big, new, shiny building.
We definitely need a building that affords us the opportunity to do all that we can do, yes.
I have a manifesting 10 minutes every night, right? I sit in my backyard, I have a Buddha. Don't laugh at me. Don't give me that smirk. I sit there and I say thank you, right? I have a gratitude list that I do every evening. You're on it, by the way.
You.
And I say, I'm grateful for this person. I'm grateful for this happening. I'm grateful for this. And then manifest. What do I want, right? I want a new home for my church. I want a new home for Stonewall. I want a new, and I believe in manifesting. I believe that if more people are putting their energy into certain things like that, it makes it happen.
I agree.
What needs to happen for that dream to come true for Stonewall?
Any number of things. I mean, but primarily it's finding the financial resources to make it happen. And I keep hoping that what we are bringing to the community will get the community, not only locally, but nationally, to respond and help us get what we need so that we can do more for the community and the community at large. I think that we understand what certain organizations do and the important roles that they play. And certainly over the last 2 years, it's been very clear what the social justice organizations do. You know, they've gone to court and they've fought for laws.
This, yes.
But what they don't do, and what the healthcare organizations don't do, is they don't put everything into context. And our community, as in all minority and marginalized communities, need is context. And why do we need context? Because when our organizations scare us, it pushes us deeper into repression and depression.
It's true.
Than when the outsiders try to scare us.
Yeah.
Because we always believe that we're there to back each other up. But when our organizations are telling us, don't go to Florida, when our organizations are saying that it's dangerous, when our organizations say they're trying to push us back in the closet, what they do is they scare people because they're not giving context.
Yeah.
They're not saying, well, this has happened before, that the language of the current administration in Tallahassee is using very similar, if not the exact language that was used by Anita Bryant back in the 70s.
Still today.
But we've overcome that.
Yeah.
And we have the capacity to overcome that. And they also don't put into context where we are as a community today.
Yeah.
In 1969, we didn't have members of Congress.
No, we did not.
We did not have governors. We did not have huge national organizations with multi-million-dollar budgets. We didn't have so many out people. No. We didn't have CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. All of that we have.
No.
So when you say they're trying to do this to us or they're doing that to us, and you don't put it in the context of where we are as a community today, 50 years ago, 51 years ago, there was no Stonewall Library. Now we have over 30,000 volumes.
Incredible.
So I look at it that way back when, over 1,000 years ago, Cleopatra had the Alexandria Library, and that made Egypt one of the most important cultural places in the world. We have in Washington, D.C., the Library of Congress, possibly the best library in the world. Every single Ivy League school talks about the importance of their library. Well, our community has a library.
And it's right here.
And it's right here.
I'm surprised at how many people still don't know that it's right here in Fort Lauderdale, you know? Robert, you are, okay, so I've been doing this show for a couple of years, and you know, there's a lot of learning that happens, right? And I've also learned a lot from my trans sisters, that there's a lot of unlearning that I've also had to do, right, in the process. And I think as a community, I think we've all walked down that path. You fight loudly for the T, big time. Big time, big time, big time, like myself, okay? I am one, there's plenty of times that I sit at a table and I'm the only woman at the table, right? And if I look around and I don't see that the T is represented, I say, where the fuck's the T, right? That's my platform to do right now, right? But I feel I have to as a woman, right? You don't have to. You're a white cisgendered man that could pass tomorrow. Right? If things go down, you'd still be okay before I would be and before the T would be. Why do you fight so hard for the T?
All I can say is that all that I'm interested in is that we're all human beings. And I don't see those differences, I have to admit. And the other thing for me is that those people who have faced depression and have achieved great things do it against all the odds, which means that those people have something that's enormously special. And how do you ignore that? I mean, I look at what the Black community, in the face of slavery, in the face of unbelievable oppression during the Jim Crow era, and they still wrote amazing books, wrote amazing music, science, education, business, that they could do even when the entire society was against them. Those people are extraordinary and exceptional. When you look at what women have accomplished with centuries of oppression, I mean, I'm in awe. So when I look at the trans community or the LGBTQ community or any of these communities that face oppression, and I look at what comes out, how can you not support that? How can you not jump up and down and celebrate those achievements? So for me, there's just not a choice.
Well, because you're a wonderful person, Robert. Most people don't feel that way, okay? Like at Pride, I was talking to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, right? And she said to me, you know, an ally, right? She's not LGBTQ plus, but she's a huge ally. And, you know, I asked her, you know, I've known you for 20 plus years. Why do you keep fighting for us, you know? And she said, if not me, who? Right? And that stuck with me because it's true, you know? And everybody should be asking themselves that. If not me, who's going to do this? Whatever this is.
And the other thing is that everybody, at some point in time, their families, their ancestors faced oppression.
In some way, shape, or form. Yes, completely. And I think that people forget that. You're just back from Philadelphia, New York.
Yes.
Right? Where you presented 2 historical exhibits.
Yes.
And you're preparing to take them to New Orleans next, right?
They are going to New Orleans in October.
And I saw when you did the exhibition with Laverne Cox. Wow, she looked amazing in those pictures with her little beret and everything. My God, you know?
In her Terry Mugler vintage outfit.
Oh my God, of course you knew that. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And the only question I have for you is, why didn't you take me? Why didn't you take me? Anyway, so this exhibit was the one also that you had added Diana Nyad to, correct?
And Billy Porter.
And Billy Porter also.
And now Laverne.
Epic? Did that warm your heart?
The whole idea of this exhibit, Standing on the Shoulders of Heroes, is looking at people who just by being a force of nature have changed the world for the better. It's not that that was their job. It's not that...
They didn't have to.
Right. And so all the people, in a sense, sacrificed something in order to stand up for our community. And it goes back to the 1950s all the way to the present. And when we first opened the exhibit, only Billie Jean King was alive. All the other people had already passed. And now we're bringing on more living people, but we're going to go back and bring back some of the other people who have passed away over the course of time, who really were significant figures.
Who are you thinking? Is there someone at the top of your mind right now?
Right now, no, because I'm still doing research.
Okay.
But there's so many.
There's so many.
There's just so
there's
many.
So many. Yeah.
But it's, like I said, but it's not finding the professionals. It's finding the people who sacrifice.
The Marsha P's, yeah.
Well, she's already in it.
No, I know, but I'm saying, you know, people like that followed suit.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about the Stonewall in Stonewall, the shot glass heard around the world. Are we cool? Talk about that? All right, okay. So the World Uprising reenactment is June 29th at the Stonewall Museum, Archives, and Library. Marsha P. Johnson, who's going to be played by Kristen Lovell, right? Love her. Throws the shot glass heard around the world. This will be the first reenactment of the Stonewall Uprising, which took place 55 years ago. So it's going to happen June 29th right here in Fort Lauderdale, because without Stonewall, there would be no Pride.
That is correct. So next year will be the 55th anniversary of Pride.
So today will be 50. So right now we're in 54.
Right.
Wow.
Years of Pride, 54.
Wow. So, okay. So how, I mean, where did this, it's 54 years. Where did this idea to reenact?
Well, that was 55 because that's Stonewall.
Okay.
So Stonewall was 55 years ago, this June 28th. And where did it come from? I believe that to get people emotionally engaged with history, you need to make history come alive. And we will do whatever it takes to be as authentic and real in bringing that history so that people can touch it, feel it, and participate in it.
I get it.
And so by recreating the Stonewall Bar in our space and having people walk through that bar, I'm every day I'm amazed at the reactions that we're getting. In fact, just before I came here, 2 young lesbians that just moved to Fort Lauderdale or somewhere around here from up north came in, and they're standing there and they're just going, wow, wow.
Wow. So it's on display now. We can go on over to see it now, right? The event is June 29th, but
you can come anytime to see the exhibit.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We're open normally 7 days a week from 11 to 5 most days. But so anybody can come, and it's free. I hope that people will make a contribution.
A donation, of course.
But it's free.
Okay.
And
for June 29th, we need to register for
it's
tickets.
Helpful if there are no tickets, but we're asking people to register.
To get a head count, of course.
Exactly. And it will be mostly in the parking lot because that will become Christopher Street. And
do you put Gay Street on the side? Like it is there? You have to.
We could.
But this is so important, Robert. Okay, I wasn't around, right? I wasn't even a sperm thought in those late 60s. But like you said, Pride wouldn't exist. No, factually, Pride wouldn't exist without Stonewall, right?
That is true.
We have a governor in Florida that wants us not to live, eat, or breathe, or be our true, authentic self. They're trying to erase history at every move, right? They don't want to show Black history in schools. They don't want to show LGBTQ plus history in schools. That's why Stonewall Museum is even more important, right? So these new kids, these millennials, these kids that we need to go run for office, represent us in the future, need to see this Stonewall uprising and be immersed in it. Exactly. And feel fear and see the cops, whatever it is, feel that, to know what it was like to have your life, your work, your career, your family in jeopardy. Because if you were caught in some of these places, they would put your names in the paper. They would tell your bosses that you were found there.
They would let your landlord know. People would get kicked out.
And these kids don't know that. I don't know that. You know what I mean? I don't know. There are still laws in place to protect me to some degree. You know what I mean? I am legally married to my wife. That is another woman, right? There are certain things in place right now that were not in place back then.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it feels like I'm getting chills because sometimes I feel like I'm in an upside down world, Robert, right? Where I look at history and I look at now and it's like, shit, we've come so far, but then like things happen and we go back.
We don't go back.
Okay.
We don't
I've got to stop saying that.
Right, because we do get pushback, but we do not go back. We understand that, like every place else in the world and every other group in the world, we have to reclaim our human and civil rights literally every day.
Yeah.
Because there's always someone who wants you to compromise so they can get ahead. And that's not where the compromises can be made.
No.
And so we're not going back. Yes, they can pass laws, they can try to do things, but as we've seen in Florida, the courts are saying, well, you can't really do that.
Yeah.
So it takes time, but we didn't have to give up even as much as we did in the interim. So we broke the law. It would still go to court.
Yeah.
And we would still have our First Amendment rights. We would still have our Fourth Amendment rights. We would still have the Constitution behind us. So we have to stop being fearful. We have to be better informed. We have to be willing to run for office.
Yes.
We have to be willing to engage in political campaigns so that we are the ones who are choosing the candidates. We can't just complain about the candidates after they're selected.
No, completely not.
Completely not. Everybody needs to be involved at every level. And in states where you can elect the Board of Education, you have to get involved in those campaigns. You have to make sure that you know who those candidates are and you know what they represent. And you have to remind every elected official that they are representatives, they are not leaders.
Mm-hmm. They represent you. They represent us. They have to.
And that's their job. That is their job.
Yeah.
Not to pass legislation, not to do and say things, but to represent the people who live in their districts. And most elected officials do not do that. We treat them as special. We invite them to things as guests. Yeah. We put them on stages. We honor them, we pay tribute to them, and they believe it. And that's on us. I remember when I was running for office, a state assemblyman was holding a reception at a firehouse. And I got there a little early, and he was carrying some stuff. And I said, let me help you. He said, you would help carry? You're running for the state senate. I said, what does that mean?
Yeah. All hands on deck.
You help other people. I mean, that's why you do it.
No, that's the human way.
And so when we pay tribute to elected officials, I always cringe, and I've stopped going to events where elected officials are the key speakers because I don't want to be part of that fake world that has led us to where we are today, where we have somebody running again for office who believes that they're anointed by God. That shouldn't be the way it is in a democracy, and it certainly shouldn't be the way it is in the United States. And we have governors who think that. We have presidents who think that. And it's not anything further from the truth. They represent us. And
don't let them forget that.
And as the Constitution says, it starts with we the people to form a more perfect union. Not we the elected officials, not we the governors, not we the states, we the people. And it is our responsibility, and it's ultimately our responsibility, and we have neglected it.
Any chance you'll run for office again?
I can't imagine. Not at my age.
That doesn't mean anything.
Well, certainly not by the standards of today. But you need to be willing to do a lot of things. And my family has compromised and still compromises a lot for my work.
I got you. I understand.
And so I am reluctant. If the opportunity presented itself, I will never say never.
You would consider it, of course.
I will never say never. But my idea of serving is just so different from all the other people that I meet that I know that I'm an outlier. And that makes it that much more difficult.
What's funny about, one of the things I actually really love about Robert is that, like, you know, to be I would love for you to run again if you could, right? But part of being a politician is shaking the hands and kissing the babies, right? And smiling and smiling and smiling and smiling. And one of the wonderful things that I love about you is that if you're not in a good mood, you could tell it on your face. You can't hide it. You don't fake the funk. You know what I mean? Like, and a politician always has like the plastered smile with the Vaseline teeth, right? And that's not you.
No.
You know, if you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it. You know, like if you don't want to be somewhere, or if someone has rubbed you the wrong way, you kindly exit. All of a sudden, Robert just disappears. He just goes poof. You see a little smoke, and he's gone. You know. And so, I mean, like I said, if you were to run, I'd be the first one there voting for you because I think that you've got all the assets needed. Just my own personal opinion. But I totally get it, though. I get it. It's not just saying I'm going to run. It's a lot of entities that have to all come together and make. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. All right, but consider it. You heard it here first. You might consider it. He said never say never, so I'm just saying. All right, we're going to finish today's interview with a game. Okay? So we call it Say What with FayWhat. And basically, it's a speed round. So I'll tell you two things and you will answer which one is your favorite at a quick pace. Okay? So if I say sunrise or sunsets, you say?
Sunrise.
All right. You ready?
I just did it.
You see what I'm saying? All right. Xmas. Christmas or Halloween?
Christmas.
Barbra Streisand or Liza Minnelli?
Barbra Streisand.
Call or text?
Call.
Sausage or bacon?
I'm a vegetarian.
Kale or kale?
I like hair.
Instagram or Facebook?
Oh, God. I use Facebook more, but I like Instagram.
New phone or a new pair of shoes?
Oh, I'm so not into shopping.
Really? That's the question that stumps him, all right? Is a new phone or a new pair of shoes? Everybody out there is like, new phone, new pair of shoes.
I'll say shoes.
Coffee or tea?
I don't drink either.
You don't drink caffeine?
No.
For real?
No caffeine.
Did you ever do drugs?
No.
Do you drink?
No.
Like none?
No.
Did you ever?
I drank beer or wine for a very short time, and I decided that I didn't have to do things that I didn't want to do.
No, of
and
course
so I
not.
stopped.
Oh, for sure. No, I like doing drugs and alcohol. That's why I did it. But I mean, it was not good for me. But yeah. Tent or camping?
What are camping?
Tent, tent or RV camping?
Oh, I've
Have
never
you
done
done-
RV, so I'll say tent.
Have you done tent?
Tent, yes.
Like on the ground?
Yes,
Really?
yes.
Yeah, I can't.
My
okay.
spouse won't do it.
I can't. Okay. Yeah, my spouse won't either. Fishing or hunting?
I'm an animal lover. I could never do either.
But you can't fish and throw it back?
You're still putting a hook in something.
Yeah,
I
that's
wouldn't
true.
do
That's
that.
true. Okay. All right. Blue or green?
Blue,
Silver or gold?
gold,
Vacation or staycation?
vacation,
Batting or pitching?
pitching,
Oprah Winfrey or Deepak Chopra?
Oprah,
The Beatles or Elvis?
Beatles,
Morning sex or bathroom sex?
morning,
Toilet paper roll over or toilet paper roll under?
over.
Of course, because you're a freaking good human. I can't understand people. And I'll tell you again, if I go to your bathroom and your toilet paper is under, guess what? I'm flipping it. Spiritual or religious?
Spiritual,
Fiji or Hawaii?
Fiji,
San Francisco or Los Angeles?
Los Angeles, and I can explain why if you're interested.
Please.
The first 3 or 4 times I went to San Francisco, the first time Mayor Moscone and Harvey Milk were killed.
Oh.
The second time,
When you went there to visit, that's when they
Yes.
were, oh my God, okay.
the second time, Mary Martin and Janet Gaynor, 2 very, very famous actresses, were in a terrible car accident, and Janet Gaynor's husband was killed. The third time was, and I might be getting the order out, was Jonestown, when a group from San Francisco moved to South America, and they had their community, and they all committed suicide.
They drank the Kool-Aid.
They drank the Kool-Aid.
Oh,
So
okay.
my cousin said, please don't come to San Francisco.
Yeah, I love San Francisco. Please don't go back there.
I like it too, and I've
Please
been there
don't.
since. But
Please don't,
but
okay?
I lived in LA and worked in LA, so I'm
So you
very
have to stay
comfortable
LA.
in LA.
Yeah, and you weren't an actor in LA. You were all
Yes.
that, asshole actors. Yeah. Right-handed or left-handed?
Right.
Ball cap to the front or ball cap to the back?
I don't wear hats, so I'll say to the front.
You would look cute in a ball cap to the front. I'm
Thank
just
you.
saying. Thank you, Robert Kesten, for being on the FayWhat Show. Please follow him and follow the Stonewall National Museum Archives and Library on social media. They always have great events, from documentaries to book signings to coffee and bagel morning discussions that are way too early for me, that I would go if they weren't at 9 in the morning.
They're not. They're at 11:30 in the morning.
Oh, okay. Then maybe I'll have to go next time. Damn it. Now I really have to go. Anyway, and make sure that you go to the event June 29th. It's going to be fantastic. The shot glass heard around the world. You definitely don't want to miss that, Robert.
4:30 prompt is when we start. You can come anytime before then. There will be refreshments, so we won't leave you starving on the streets. And thank you, FayWhat, because you are amazing and you've got really great legs.
Oh my God, did you really? Thank you. Look at that. I didn't expect that. And before we go, can you tell me about your shirts?
My shirt. It's one shirt.
Is it really one
Yes.
shirt? I could have gotten in this shirt with you.
You could have. You could have. We dedicated one gallery to marginalized communities within our community. And the first exhibit was done by a New York male black artist. And one of the things that he does is these. And I
love that. So is that Marilyn Monroe-esque?
It's Donna Summer.
Oh my God, I love it. I love me some Donna Summer. She was just here performing, I don't know when, maybe a month ago or
No,
something.
Donna Summer's been dead for years.
Oh,
But maybe her music was.
maybe it was a no, I think it was a, they have the musicals where they do all the music, but I mean, it was sold out and it was incredible, I heard, but wow.
He had other shirts and he said, what would you like? And I said, Donna Summer.
And you said Donna Summer as Marilyn Monroe, you were
No,
that?
this is from the cover of one of her albums.
Oh, I love it. And the purple?
The purple is just what he did, and it says
Straight
out
out
of
of
Boston. And then here's a disco ball.
I love it.
So
I love it. I'm
he's
going to
a
put a
great
belt on it. I'm going to put a belt on it so you can use it for your next gala in a different way, and we'll be good.
He's a great artist. He works mostly with buttons and does unbelievably creative thing. And now he's at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. So we kicked off.
Oh my God.
We kicked him off.
We kicked them off.
Bo, you're there because of Stonewall.
But he doesn't want any credit.
Stonewall wants credit.
Stonewall wants credit, all right? So make sure that you follow Robert Kesten and you follow Stonewall as well, and we will see you at the end of the month for that incredible event, and we'll be right back. Thank you, Robert, for being with me, baby.
Thank you.
I love you. Mwah.